Hey, what's good? What's good? Y'all know what it is. This is your boy Trey, and this is E2G Sports Network presents First Formation Morning Sports Talk. So come on and fall in with us. It's here. We here, ready to go. You know what it is. Got some of the talking about some of the best, biggest sports topics that we have that's on the net, whether it be baseball, football, college, tennis. We get it in. Different things, boxing, MMA, all of it. It's not off topic. It's all topic for us to sit up and talk about. What's your purpose to sports nets? I mean, correction, favorite vets on the net. So come on in. Let's get to going. Let's get to going. I hope y'all all are enjoying y'all day today. If my cohort was here right now, but I'm sure when he falls in, he's going to sit up and talk about what the day is. Y'all know what it is. It's the middle of the week. Hump day is upon us. So, of course, before we really get started, of course, I had one of our high speeds who are our watchers, listeners out there decided to want to encourage us to speak on a certain topic. Of course, that being the topic of prostate cancer. So, of course, if you've been paying attention or if you watch different sports outlets and everything like that, Hall of Famer, NFL Hall of Famer Shannon Sharp got on and did a PSA, I guess you could say, in which he discussed and talked about a prostate cancer, in which he said he's a survivor of prostate cancer. One of the key things in which he done was went and got screened for this cancer. Of course, prostate cancer is one of the leading cancers common amongst men, older men, African American men as well. Um, uh, Individuals, males with obesity issues, and those type of factors in which something as simple as a screening can prevent a spread of prostate cancer. One of the common, like I said, most common non-skin cancers that are diagnosed in men. So, of course, if you can, men that are out there, African American men, particularly, especially, go out and get screened. Um, Shannon Sharp discussed how his father died at an early age from this particular, and then his brothers, his uncles, who almost met the same demise later on in their lives around their 50s. So as simple as going to get a screen so you can be tested. September is a National Prostate Cancer Awareness Month, in which you can just get with your service providers, doctors, and set up to get a screening. So that way you can ensure that you can catch any early signs if that is what's there. If not, then it's just like preventive maintenance on your body to ensure that you're there to be around to be with your family, your loved ones. Check out First Formation every morning and do that whole thing. So, in the gentlemen, please go out and ensure that you go out and get checked. It could save your life in state. You know what I'm saying? I don't think you get anything better than that. Um, so yeah, shout out to Coach Wayne putting that bug in our ear. We make sure you do exactly that. Appreciate it, Coach Wayne. Um, so little conversation, a little something here and there. Um, I guess yesterday was a conference in which we were talking about in reference to the NCAA football. Uh, they had a conference, so rivalries, right? Everyone knows a rivalry. We've been dealing with rivalry since the beginning of time. Um, Whether it's high school, I would even say, say I'm from Compton, California. We even had rivalries in reference to what's good, Zero. Good morning, Frack. Glad to see you. Information, brother. Good morning. But rivalries. We even have rivalries for me as as a person from Compton amongst elementary schools. Like not like a huge rivalry, like God, but it was like it is more so as you get up and go through. Like in or around my area, always go through because it's a certain faction. It's a certain people that go to. Not saying this doesn't happen anywhere else, but I just know how it happens for us. So there's a certain amount of people that go to this particular school from elementary. It kind of like segues, of course, by the districts and the line. And so I went to Foster Elementary in Compton. Presumably, I left Foster Elementary, and then I went to Whaley Middle School in Compton. And then, of course, from Whaley, I go from Whaley to Dominguez High School in Compton. Manuel E. Dominguez. Shout out to Don's. So that was so you know what I'm saying, our rivalry. So but then you have people that go to Roosevelt, in which it was a Roosevelt Elementary, it was a Roosevelt Junior High, and then predominantly people go to Roosevelt from Roosevelt Junior High to Dominguez or then Compton College. I mean, correction, Compton High or something like that. And then, of course, you have further people further on down the line on the other side of Compton, where you have people that go that leave schools like Centennial Bunch, or would leave those schools, Centennial Bunch, and so on and so forth, and they'll go to Compton High or Centennial High School. So, of course, you know what I'm saying, rivalries was built early because it was always something about the best people came from Whaley, Foster, Roosevelt, Willowbrook, uh, McNair, like, you know what I'm saying, a whole bunch of different schools across it throughout the city of Compton. So, you know what I'm saying, that's instilled early. So if you come back to it, rivalries are just that, you know what I'm saying, they enact something. You sports in general enact something, certain emotions in people to begin with. Camaraderie, competition, whatever the case is. So in the case of going forth, even you know what I'm saying, service members, Army, Air Force, Navy, Coast Guard, Space Force, Marines, it don't make a difference. National Guard, active reservists, you know, even I mean, maybe a little beef every once in a while between veterans and retirees. Like it's all, you know what I'm saying, competition is all, like it could be a potential rivalry, anything in which there could be competition ensued. So what we have, we talk about sports on here a lot. So of course you have certain rivalries that's within sports. We just seen one that went on between Green Bay and Chicago, one of the oldest rivalries in the NFL, in which Green Bay is I believe leading in it. I don't have the exact numbers on it right now. Additionally, we have rivalries UCLA and USC, battle of the Los Angeles when it comes to college. Bishop's beloved Boomer Sooners in Oklahoma. What's good, Eric? Good morning, brother. Glad to see you in formation. What does it do? What it do? So even rivalries when it comes down to like I said, uh, USC, Notre Dame, um, Los Angeles Lakers, Los Angeles Clippers, Boston Celtics, Los Angeles Lakers. And it goes on and on. So the reason I talk about this and saying this is because currently one of those rivalries that we have known, not maybe particular to us, maybe honestly this will be more particular to Bishop, is the rivalry between Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, known as Bedlam, is basically in jeopardy. Potentially, it won't be going on. Ideally, what is stated or what was talked about yesterday is that Bedlam, when discussed with Coach Gundy from the Oklahoma State University Cowboys, as it was being discussed and what was talked about is for the simple fact of it's most likely going to end when Oklahoma leaves the Big Ten and goes to Big 12. I'm sorry, Big 12 and goes to the SEC. Not that it shouldn't happen, not that it you know saying is doing that, not like there's any bitterness or anything like that, but more so because the ideal is in state is the there's no room. You know what I'm saying? In college, games are planned out ahead of time to give some type of flexibility. Um, Already in the Big 12, the games are played 9 Power 5 teams are already on the schedule. That leaves only three opportunity for three teams outside of that to be scheduled, whether it's a non-conference Power Five or any of the other schools in which or to be scheduled. It only leaves three games. They're done in in with the future ahead of time. So currently, when you look at it, if Oklahoma is not a part of their conference, then they don't have any games. There's no way to play Oklahoma currently because they've already scheduled games out. So, from my understanding, they have been scheduled out to 2038 already. So once Oklahoma leaves and what's expected to be 2024 or 2025, that is expected to be the last time Oklahoma will play Oklahoma State for potentially the next 10 to 14 years, in which there would be no bedlam, which is crazy when you look at the fact of you're cross you're in that state. Two of the biggest universities that are in that state after all this time aren't playing one another. But then again, that could build up. That could build up. That could build up. I could see plenty of marketing behind that, like a complete build up in which it was a war. You know what I'm saying? The battle was won, but the war still ensues. All kinds of stuff. I see all type of marketing stuff to go behind that. But you know what I'm saying? That's just me. But they won't be playing up until at least to 2038, when with is the earliest time in which potentially Oklahoma State will have an opening on their schedule going into now what is the SEC. I think they've canceled or removed all the planning, as I spoke about the other day. The idea is that the games that were supposed to be played next year between the certain teams in the SEC, i.e., Georgia, and I think the other one was Texas A&M, have been canceled due to the fact of there's no need to do it because there was supposed to be a home and home series in which they're not going to be able to pay back the there's no need to do it because they're going to play anyway. Um, I, so I don't know, Eric. I mean, first look at it, I've discussed this with Bishop plenty of times before, in which we discussed and said that that I don't know. When I looked at it, I went and looked at it, depending on where they put OU at in the SEC as well as Texas. Depending on where they put them at, is going to really make a big difference. If they put them in a certain division, then they might. I'm in a certain certain division. It might bring some notoriety to them. I don't know what in 2 years what Oklahoma's going to look like. In 2 years, it might be like they might SEC might feel like this was or we should have went after USC. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? It was different. They had Lincoln Riley, so a lot changed in a matter of when they announced that. I think a year or so ago to where they are now. So potentially we could have a situation to where it's not in the best, it's not best for Oklahoma to do that. But in state is what we know in the SEC. Oklahoma is going to have an opportunity to. They get a good opportunity because now they're playing against a lot of the teams that are put into the top 25. They get a chance to suit up against them 9 times a year. The Alabamas, the Georgias, Texas A&M, who are usually there now, potentially Texas. Um, so it's definitely going to be something. Mike Gundy even reached out and talked about how he it's not his fault. He kind of I think it was a dig or a slice where he went at and said Oklahoma basically chased the money and they went on and went to the SEC chasing the money. Um, and left everyone else in alert. So now I would say a scramble, but it's not a scramble. It's just one of those things to where now the SEC will have Texas and Oklahoma. As we know, the Big Ten will get USC and UCLA, which is going to completely change the dynamic and the landscapes of the college, especially the Power Five, because you have big name schools. Whether in any case, for the most part, big names bring TV rights, and in my opinion, that's what it's all about. The money aspect of it. It brings they're moving, and with the CFP getting ready to go to 12, with the CFP getting ready to go to 12 12 teams. That's going to make a difference, presumably, especially maybe for at least two of those 14s that moves, because now you can almost rest assured that it's going to be most likely they're going to get a chance to get into the CFP, which is another marketing tool, whether or a recruitment tool, and basically it continues to go on from there. So as we know, it's about the old mighty dollar, and even what just happened recently is yesterday, the SEC um, chancellor or president basically talked about how um, he think it's a great idea with the expansion, especially to get it in place by the 2024 season because yes sir, yeah, it for sure is all about the money. You know what I'm saying? They got USC, and anyone who got USC was going to get them big and rights because instead is USC is a creme de la creme for the most part when it comes to college football in Los Angeles, in California, and just basically moved the needle. Unfortunately, it took away from the Pac-12, which is already a dwindling conference, and that money goes away. Those rights go with USC. They're a private institution, so they kind of can make their own ways as long as they're not breaking any rules. If they are, I'm very sure they had to pay an outlet to leave the Pac-12. They had to pay a fee, in which I'm sure they think it was a good move and conducive. Like if it's money lost, it's money that they're going to gain back plus some. So power moves, business moves, definitely. Um, so yeah, so but basically what I was going to say is that the SECs discuss how yes we're a dominant conference. We know and understand that we can. He would love to win the conference every year. I mean, win the division every year. If you look at it, the CFP has been in place for 8 years at this point. Alabama has won the CFP championship 3 times. Clemson has won it twice. And then, of course, LSU, Georgia, and was it Oklahoma? I had to take a look back. Have all won it once in its 8 years of existence. It still has another 6 years to go, I believe. Due to 3 years, correction, or 4 years. I think it is in 26. In which, but at this point, Clemson. I mean, the SEC has been the dominant, winning 4 of 8 of those championships. So he has a claim to say that basically he can be, or they are, the most dominant division when it comes to when it comes to this. Um, so with that being said, he's open to the he's open to the 12 game expansion. Not to say that that any other team is going to win, but he says now it gives opportunity for teams to at least get in. At this point, expanded to 12 gives a minimum of 40 teams the opportunity to potentially get in, which they become one of the 12. And then upon coming one of the 12, they have an equal opportunity to win the championship as any of the previous teams in the top. Just more, so it works out in my opinion. I'm excited for um, the tournament of 12. Look at coming in as early as maybe 2024. So that way we can see how that goes and gives opportunity. Of course, my bias was initially for the Trojans, but now when you look at it, hell, I mean, we're moving on to another division. Uh, but now it gives us a more of an opportunity to kind of uh, become a mainstream in the CFP as well. Hopefully, we make some noise this year where that doesn't even make a difference. Let's institute where we become number 9 to win the CFP and make things happen. So I'm excited for it. Let me see, Eric, what we saying? It's a way to get more exposure and money to the athletes. Nah, I don't think so. So, so I think the NIL is the only way in exposure to get more money to the athletes. Instead is that NIL produces what is going to happen is, in my opinion, with the NIL at certain schools, or your school is a CFP contender, or a CFP or a person that's in the CFP, they're going to, without a doubt, use that any organization that's in or around that certain area are going to look at stapling themselves, or saying lassoing on to these universities to push anything in which they get, but mainly boosters that have connections. As far as when you talk about the movement of the schools, um, it's more exposure. That's definitely more exposure because, like you said, when you look at it, USC going from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten, that's huge. It's going to be more competition, but of course the Big Ten gets a large slate. So now you're playing with the Michigans, the Ohio States, um, in some instances, the Penn States. Uh, you bring in Toad's little brother in USC. So all those things make a difference, and all those things, of course, give exposure. Same thing, which was I think was the biggest move with Oklahoma and Texas going to the SEC. We all know SEC is considered the creme de la creme. So with them making those moves, all exposure. All exposure. I don't think you get any more exposure than that. Although I think at USC to the Big 12 would have been more conducive. But with Texas and Oklahoma State, leaving, there's nothing really there left for them. And then they probably would just moved in to be the new Oklahoma and at least the new Oklahoma Texas for one of them. So yeah, it completely throws everything off. You'll see Michigan gonna be big. Oh yeah, without a doubt. All of his money is all money in the bank. Yeah, that's definitely USC and Michigan, USC and Ohio State, USC and Penn State, UCLA. Like it's just gonna make you now USC and UCLA in the Big 12. I mean in the Big 10, like all that's gonna be a hellified exposure. Now you instead of being on Fox Sports, they're gonna be on CBS. It's basically, I mean, it's power moves. I really think power moves without a doubt. Um, Power moves are being made and instituted. Um, so yeah, so definitely, I'm here for it. Ready to see it. Can't wait. Can't wait to watch it. So transition a little bit, moving into some NBA conversation, right? NBA conversation. So of course we know the season is 29 days away. 29 days, a little less than 29 days away, where we'll see round ball taking place again. The pigskin is still going to be prevalent and moving, but round ball, the other ball in the basket. We know the hunt for October is in full swing. So hardball is being played right now, still getting ready to come towards the end of the season. We know just talked about it last night. Aaron Judge is in a hunt to burst or bust the all-time single season AL home run record currently at 60. I think the record is 61, so he's going to break that most likely with a little over, I think, 15, 16 games to go. Uh, and maybe even make an attempt to get to take down the overall record um, in you know what? It's funny you say that, Eric. So definitely, without a doubt, he needs to get to 700. I could feel you on that. But I wonder, do pitchers be like, you know what? I'm gonna give him this. I think if I was, I would give it to it. I would sit up and give it to it. Get it out the way as soon as possible, if able, or if it's a position where we get in, is like, hey, but get it out the way. If it's a situation, or especially if I'm a pitcher and the captain, a manager that's not in contention for anything, I'm gonna make sure that without a doubt that we going that he's gonna reach that plateau and give it to him. Now, as far as that's because of the milestone it is and who he is. Anything other than that, I'm not finna do that, bro. Chill. I'm not. You know what I'm saying? If like Aaron Judge, hey, if you get it, you're gonna get it naturally. But I think I would give it to Pujols, except for being one away. Hey, they don't get this. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. So I would definitely give it to them. Let them get it. But like I was saying, uh, NBA less than 30 days away. So, but of course, in this being said, some things he knocking them. So I give him that. I definitely give him that. I'm up to see a Yankees versus Dodgers World Series, or see the Dodgers versus the Astros again, so we can put that to rest because they did cheat the last time we faced off in the World Series. But Boston, right? I was taking a look at it last night. Robert Williams III, the center for the Boston Celtics, is scheduled to have arthroscopic surgery to clean up his left knee. Um, Now, it's expected that he will be out 6 to 8 weeks in recovery after this arthroscopic surgery that he's most likely to have, I think, tomorrow, as early as tomorrow. Um, of course, like I said, he's cleaning up some surgery that he had last 6 months ago, in which he had the surgery to repair his torn MCL, a meniscus. So I'm thinking, right? The NBA season, Boston stopped playing in what was it, May, June, or something like that. We're getting ready to start back up. Here it is, September, and now they come to the point to where they say he has to get surgery for them 2 weeks. I mean, the 2 months that he was, so he was out at least 2 months, if not 2 to 3 months. Here we are on the cusp of beginning the new season, and now you come to me and tell me you're going to get surgery that's going to keep you out for 2 months. I'm very sure it's a calculated move. Basically, it's like, yo, this is my summer. I'm gonna do what I'm going to do. This is work related, so I take care of it while at work. I wonder, but of course, in any case, that's what's going on. Robert Williams, the third, will be out up to 6 to 8 weeks as he recovers from what he plans to do is get a cleanup of arthroscopic cleanup of his knee that he basically had the surgery last year in reference to his torn meniscus. So of course, saying, if y'all out there chime in, if you was a GM, head coach, what would be what what's your what's your thought? What's your mindset if one of your good players at that? Robert Williams is a defensive stalwart. He alters people's games. 38% shoot shooting, 38% shooting percentage for players that face him. Um, I like to know. You know what I'm saying? How would you be feeling? I would feel a certain type of way. But again, I think what it is, like I said, Eric, is what it comes down to is these. It's like I said. I have to take a look. I have to look and see, and I need to make sure that this is what needs to happen, and then come down and be like, you know what is unavoidable, and then it goes forth and do it. Instead, is on him, unless it's in this contract that they said if this happens, we're not going to do this at the third. But for the most part, I don't even think it has to be contractual. I just think it's a matter of how the player feels. Oh no, they're not gonna put him deep in the rotation. That man is a he's a beast. Young at that, yeah, he's gonna when he comes back, he's gonna probably be back unless there's someone else that's gonna show improve. That what who they picked up or who they got on the stash on the bench currently that's gonna cover down for him. Of course, they still got Al Horford. What's good, Ladonna? Good morning, sis. What's going? Happy team information. They still got Al Horford. I think that's on the roster. Um, I think Dice is still there. So they probably got some, as well as some of the other players. So I think they got a couple of pieces. But yeah, that's just I ain't gonna say a backbreaker, but 2 months to be without him. I don't know how many games they're gonna face in the 2 month period between uh October 18th on out to at this point. At this point, you will see it as being mid October, December. Hell, I might as well say the beginning of the year. No respect for the game. I think that's going to be an ongoing conversation, Eric. Uh, I don't think it's a lack of respect for the game. I think it's also it could be, and this is all speculation, just my personal opinion, that it also it's not necessarily not respect for the game. I just think it's a point in which players and owners and stuff like that have to get to a table, and there's always a tension of who is what is really is it the owner that creates the team that affords the opportunity, or is it the player that basically puts butts in seats and makes things happen? It's like which one is it? We'll see unless he comes back and shows that he's a monster. So, in which he has shown as a defensive as a defensive centerpiece, he's been effective. I mean, he didn't stop the Golden State Warriors from getting their championship, but he tripped them up a little bit, or he put the rest on the other teams that could have faced him. But like I said, we'll see. We'll definitely see. In other news, of course, when you take a look at Robert Sarver, who is the Phoenix Suns, Phoenix Mercury's team owner. As we know, he's currently suspended from the NBA and WNBA with zero influence on the team, as far as we know. Um, he's suspended for a year suspension with a $10 million fine for misogynistic and racial environment or slurs and talking, as well as a demeaning environment. So he's basically away for that. Minnesota guard Anthony Edwards, Ant Man as we know he's called, has basically been fined $40,000 by the NBA by for using anti-gay comments while observing a group of people standing on the sidewalk. It was basically recorded in the IG video posted in his on his story on IG. So of course now, if you haven't seen it, you're not able to get to it because of course it's been deleted. Um, Anthony Edwards came and stated that of course, he apologized and said he was a stupid young thing, in which he should be hold himself to a higher standard. He wasn't raised in that way. So we don't know what was said. You can speculate for the most part. Of course, I won't speculate in this form because I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to demean and say what it is, and it's a serious topic. Of course, being a EO in the military and going through that, I had a lot of stuff in which I came across things where from discussing or racial slurs, epithets, and stuff like that, in whether it's at towards the LGBTQ plus communities and things of that nature, all that type of stuff. So I get it. I understand how it can be damning and demeaning. But what I will talk about and kind of like bring up is the disparity in disparity in the so Anthony Edwards said something right. Fine $40,000. Is that or is that not potentially the same type of stuff in which Sarver is facing to a degree, not fully? I mean, we understand Sarver might say it to be held in a whole different class because he's an owner. You know what I'm saying, he's supposed to he dictates the environment in which his organization operates, and he goes forth and he sets the tone. No different from Anthony Edwards setting the tone for his team on that level, in that echelon. Sarver sets it for a higher echelon because he is the face. He's not the face of the franchise, but he is the person that puts, saying, that makes things happen for the franchise. Usually, if the head isn't doing right, then the body won't either, to a certain extent. So, of course, we don't expect the league to ban Anthony Edwards for this infraction. Um, but should there be an equivalency to what goes on for a owner? Because just the other day it was talked about, which we're going to speak about in a second, because Golden State Warrior forward Draymond Green had plenty to say in reference to the Starver situation, but no one has even further spoke about the Anthony Edwards situation. So, with that being said, is there what type of standard or what type of responsibility should be placed upon the players when it comes to this type of stuff. The same thing, presumably, that is said, except for it was caught on tape. It was his video. He posted it. Or maybe it was a slip of the tongue. Or maybe, like you said, impact the intent. Maybe the impact and intent wasn't meant to be the same thing. But is there a standard? I asking basically, is there a standard? Should it be said the same thing should be said or done to, or not the same thing because it can't be the same thing, but the equivalency, should it be done the same way? Let me see, Eric. Mm-hmm. Oh, you calling for heads, Eric? Firing them both? You say? Uh, that is to fire them both. So, so Solver is like asking, like we gonna get into that in a second. Solver is being they asking for his head. I know Draymond Green is asking for his head. Um, in a manner. Like I said, I haven't heard anything. I think I heard what the last before because this happened a couple of weeks ago in reference to Anthony Edwards, in which they didn't. A few people came out and said, saying it was a mistake. Uh, you got to, of course, do better, and yada yada yada. That was the rhetoric. Um, that would be a tremendous. Um, that would be tremendous if they basically looked at, you know what, we're gonna get rid of them both. Like a zero tolerance, like nah, one and done. You know what I'm saying? That'd be crazy. But I'm very sure it put people on notice, like, yo, I can't say certain things on me be cool. I know they talked about before Kobe when he said supposedly he had a certain term used while he was on the bench talking to one of the referees. Mm. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know. The accountability I agree with, but the just fire them off the rip, that's a little bit different. That might be a little bit extreme, of course, case by case basis. I think, but I think there should be a tier or a look at how they do this and what they do to these people that have certain terms and say certain things and how they interact. Let's see, hold on. True that. Ooh, start giving CPR to these dead situations. Let them go and give someone else a chance. I see you have a hard stance on that, Eric. Uh, and as if it was only that simple, but I can understand where you're coming from. But of course, when you start looking at the different the different things that come into play with all that, I think that's where it starts to I think that's where it starts to take a different turn because everything isn't cookie cutter, and every situation makes it to where there has to be something done or something differently done. But I can agree, I can see your point. I completely understand your point. You want to sometimes you got to take a hard stance in order to make stuff happen, and so it depends on what the NBA is going to do to it because now you have two instances where you have a again we have a owner who is line stepped again. Not too long ago, we just got finished engaging and watching Dallas Mavericks go through a whole situation to where their environment it had to be their work environment had to be corrected and Mark Cuban had to make some changes and make some things happen. Of course, we know Donald Sterling went through his situation, in which allowed the Clippers to be sold due to the situation that happened there. Now here we are with Robert Sarver and wondering what's going to happen to him. Currently, he's at a $10 million fine as well as a year suspension from any operations or any managing or operating of his organizations. So we will see how it goes forth, especially when I get into this next topic. Like I said, talking about what Draymond Green is doing or what he has in play. Um, let me see. So Draymond Green, like I said, forward. forward Draymond Green of the Golden State Warriors basically has a podcast, the Draymond Green Show podcast, in which he discussed and talked about the situation in reference to Robert Sarver. So, like I said, and this a lot of going to be in quotes of him, um, in which Draymond basically stated that it's a little baffling, and this is a quote directly from Draymond. It's a little baffling to me that we'll walk into the arena next year. The Phoenix Suns will walk into the arena next year, and he'll sit on the sideline, and we'll just continue to play. So the one thing that I'm going to need is someone to explain to me why it is okay to get rid of then Lakers, LA Clippers owner Donald Sterling, but not possible to force Robert Sarver to sell his team after what he read. Of course, they have not, as far as I've seen, they have not came out or show or release any dialogue or transcripts in reference to that case of what Sarver has said or seen to the public yet. I would think that it's coming at some point, even maybe next couple of days. It's probably going to end up coming out, or at some point they're going to meet a statute of limitation where they have to produce it to the public. So he goes further. Draymond Green goes further, even states that it says that I am asking there to be a vote. If that's the only way, then let's see what the numbers are. Let's see what they are. Let's see the numbers. Let's see what they are. So of course he's speaking in reference to the owners, the governors, as they're called in the NBA, the governors to put forth a vote and whether or not they see it fit to remove Robert Sarver from their, I guess you could say, fraternity. And get him out to where he has to for where they force a sale of that organization. Even further quotes a couple of them by Draymond Green when he returns next year, because it's only a year. Does everything go back to normal? Which is a pretty good question. Like, what is going to be said? Um, are those guys supposed to unsee everything that they just saw and heard? Are those guys supposed to feel comfortable with continuing to work with this guy for this guy? So I don't know if any of y'all have ever been in a situation where you have been around someone or worked with someone that has deemed something considered to be egregious, and then you have to basically go back to continuing to working with this individual or individuals, and like nothing happened, especially if it affected you in some way, form, or fashion, whether you were affected to it by directly or indirectly. So I guess you could put that puts it into context. Like, how do you go back and work with this guy, especially if you're a person who advocates for women and or saying certain races or women, African Americans, Latins, um, anyone which has been affected or has some adverse something said. How do you go back and work with that person when you know that presumably this is their mindset, this is their thought, this is how they interact? Like, how do you go back and work with this person knowing that? Are you able to go back and work with this person? Of course, furthermore, another quote from Green is to think that someone like Robert Sarver that's acting in the manner can continue to represent us. When he says us, he's talking about African Americans. That's BS, or he says expletive words. You can't continue to represent way more people than yourself with these views, with speaking to people the way he did, with treating African Americans and women the way he has. That's not okay. So he's basically standing on the desk and talking about how these things are not cool for him to do this, especially when you're a representation for the most part, because you employ these individuals, a large amount of African Americans and women, but yet you're having demeaning things to say in interaction. Like, how does make it make sense is what I'm hearing. Last quotes, of course, this guy gets to just come back in the fold as he's still representing us and is and as if he's a part of us. That can't be so because of us, especially as African Americans. It's uncomfortable. I'm very uncomfortable, and knowing that in the position you could just essentially do whatever you want because you own an asset. You can't be punished. So is unraveling, right? I think it's unraveling. I think you're going to have a potential to where there's going to be a point to where really and honestly Robert Sarver is going to be brought to the mat. In the in the military, we call it put on a carpet when you got to stand in front of a commander or a sergeant major or somebody in reference to say to face some type of adverse action or possibility, or just to have a conversation about something that was done. He's going to be brought to that carpet, and then being brought to that carpet, now he's going to be put is going to be put in position to where now you got to answer some questions, and now we got to see what's really going on. And like Eric said, especially in the case of the NBA being 80% black, African American, even more when you start to look at minorities and stuff like that. So it's like, and Draymond feels like he's a Robert Sarver. If Draymond actually feels like he's again, I said affected directly or indirectly. In this case, Draymond feels affected indirectly because he plays for the Golden State Warriors, and so him playing for the Golden State Warriors. Uh, Being an African American man on the Golden State Warrior team in the NBA, it puts him in a position to where it's like, what are we doing? Like this is a representation. He represents us. You know what I'm saying? He puts forth the things that shows, and you know what I'm saying, to show his team, represent his team, but he's an NBA owner, and this is what we're saying. So he feels like this is what the NBA stating in their stance. So he'll like to see the stance. Now, what I foresee, and I don't want to say that people can never be satisfied for the most part, but of course, in which it was Scott Van Pelt of ESPN had something to say on his show when the first initially dropped down from in reference to the punishment, and he said he feels like that we're in a culture now that basically exhibits being punished. Everyone wants to see the maximum possible punishment, and there's nothing else. There's nothing beneath that can be susceptible. In this case, it could be a situation in which, although not necessarily the same, but there is some similarities that Donald Sterling lost his team. Why can't Robert Sarver lose his in the same type of league? He's doing a microcosm, in my opinion, of what Donald Sterling did, but still it's an idealization, and this idealization has been put out there is out there. I think it was more so misogynistic and demeaning towards women than it was anything else, but still other people were affected, African Americans, with the use of a derogatory term, um, and whatever else could possibly be in that affidavit that which it shows and discusses. I look forward to possibly seeing it. I want to see what I can do to find it. But yeah, so what are definitely some of the situations where um, he's saying it should be a call. He said it should be a mess. I mean, a vote. But so what? My other thought is, what happens if it has to be three-fourths, 3/4 in order to be valid? So what happens if they put the vote? They do a vote. Excuse me. They do a vote, and it doesn't go the way in which Draymond Green, LeBron James, or Chris Paul would want it. If that happened, do we have a situation where now that it's presumable that all these other owners who are voting have similar values and idealizations when it comes to this because they don't vote them out? Like, where do we go with that? You know what I'm saying? Where's the now? What starts to be the thought process? Let me see. Eric commented, each African American should boycott playing against this team, like they did players like Jackie Robinson. Again, we was just talking about it in the NCAA, Eric, NCAA football. That almighty dollar speaks volumes. When it comes to these organizations, I don't think it's anything that speaks more than that is the money. So players not playing, like it'll affect. It would be. I think it wouldn't. The players aren't the answer, in my opinion. The players aren't the answers because the players are contractually obligated to do certain things. You could take a stance and go against that contract and you face some type of fees, fines, or whatever case like that. However, fans are not contracted, have an obligation to that. the fans, it starts with the fans, in my opinion. If the fans aren't showing up to these games, then that's where it starts to hurt at. Or say have owners have and players. But it's so missing a game or two, I don't think does it even moves the needle, Eric. I honestly think, like I said, I clearly feel and believe strongly that it starts with the fans, us. You know what I'm saying? That's where it starts with. If I'm sit up and slated to go to a Phoenix Suns game and the Phoenix Suns are playing, since I'm here I'm visiting Phoenix. I happen to be in Denver, hollering at the hollering at Coach Paris or something like that, Coach Collins. I'm in the MB and I'm down there, and their team and us had tickets already because it was supposed to be a special game, or like we have some stuff planned, as well as for Fort Pope. We have a game that we're playing at with the Phoenix Suns organization, and we bought tickets to earn that right to play the Court of Dreams or wherever their aspect would be, and we don't end up going. And then the people who bought them tickets don't end up going. That's roughly 100 tickets, maybe, give or take. That starts to change, and that might not move the needle a lot. But what happens if that 100 turns to 300, and then for the next game that 300 turns to 500? Those prices start to drop. That starts to move the needle. And so if the fans aren't showing up because they feel a certain type of way, then what happens is, I think it makes it easier, even though no matter what, easier for the players to make their stance. But the fans, I think it all begins with the fans. Sorry, I mean vote half owners and play. Oh, I get what you're saying now, Eric. Anthony. Correct, but then that again, that's a buy-in. Like, true enough, they're not. So it doesn't help. Again, we got, what I'm saying, we get into the intricacies and there's money talk, right? Money talk. So what happens is, if these fans are going, like you said, like Anthony's just stated, the players, they don't have the money. They've already played. You bought the ticket. You already paid the ticket. You're not gonna get your money back. You're gonna lose that. So what happens additionally is, like I said, the fans is the power. Honestly, we're the power. Ticket sales. They always talk about why the WNBA isn't making anything or doing anything. It's because of ticket sales. Histories that they can't sit up and get anything. Ticket sales and viewers' rights, viewership. If you're not watching a Phoenix Suns game, which means two markets have to not be undialed, at least minimum two markets, because if the Suns are playing against the Memphis Grizzlies, that means Memphis Grizzlies fans don't watch, Suns fans don't watch games. Memphis Grizzlies fans don't show up, Suns game fans don't show up. In doing that, you're causing a problem. There's a void that needs to be filled. So it's like, okay, you take a hit for that game. Next thing you know, think about if that happens for 10 games consistently. That starts to happen, I'm very sure you're going to start to get some attention. Because not only are you affecting the Suns organization, because it's their people that are doing it, as well as other, but now the teams in which they are playing are being hit and being affected. The Lakers, because think the Lakers is a premier team regardless of how they playing. Think about if their fans don't show up to a home game or a away game, and they don't watch via a viewership, anything else. Think about what that does. It take a hit. Now we have to start sitting up and taking a look at it and be like, yo, this is what I do, Eric. You know what I'm saying? I went to school for sports marketing, so I had to do in-depth dives and stuff like that. Like, my mind goes a whole different way because I had to build plans and all this type of stuff and create stuff. But yeah, so you know what I'm saying? It takes a hit. It takes a huge hit. Like, it goes into a whole different atmosphere to just what. So you know what I'm saying? Now other people are affected. So with these people being affected, now it's like, yo, what do we do? How do we recoup our money? Our money is can't recoup. So hey, let's get to the table and have this vote. You got to go, fam. Like you can't have you there. We need to remove you because you're affecting our bottom line. And that's what I'm saying, and that now he can fight on it. He can put forth all the efforts he can to fight it in state. But of course, that's why they have certain bylaws for those governors and stuff like that. The commissioner's job is to enforce some bylaws, and that's where it goes. So what I'm saying, ultimately, it that's the play, in my opinion. It comes out to the fans. The fans is the power, regardless if we believe it or not. The fans is the power. You don't show up to games. No different from when the stuff happened with Colin Kaepernick, and it was everyone saying, "Hey, I'm finna boycott the NFL. I'm going to boycott the NFL." No one really boycotted the NFL. At least there was not enough people that boycotted the NFL to where they wouldn't. So people still got viewerships. They still have butts and seats. It doesn't affect. It does. It's not a chink in any other armor. But when you start doing that type of stuff, slowly but surely, what I'm saying, Nicks are here, Nick there. You start leaking a little bit. What I'm saying, you put enough Nicks in certain places, it's gonna that little flow becomes a huge flow when it collects and deposits, and that's basically what makes the difference. Like Eric said, I mean, what Anthony said, COVID-19, they thought, well, still make money, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Listen to what the rhetoric is. Yeah, COVID-19, but we was looking at, it was a pandemic, and it wasn't based upon making an effort to cripple this machine. Completely different differences. If organization is doing something that isn't conducive to human rights, human races, or anything like that, and you want to make a difference, the way to make the difference is hit them in their pockets, which means you got to get together and not engage in watching in any form or fashion, not purchasing any memorabilia or any license gear in reference to that team. Like it has to be a complete. You got to go cold turkey. You got to basically, you got to. If you a fan of Washington, the Commanders, Anthony Commanders, and y'all owner. If you're a fan of that, if y'all wanted to step and really affect him where he understands, he's like, you don't have to worry out. It's not happening. It's not happening. He's not worried about that. And so they be thinking. So you have to simply put forth the effort. I look at it always the shock and awe. Like, that shock and awe is something serious. When you do something, it's like, yo, they actually did it. Over 1 million people start viewing. Stop coming to coming to our games. Stop buying our apparel. 1 million people stop, it starts to make a difference. And that's the point as well, Cornelius. And then a lot of say, and so and that comes back like, bruh, I swear I could sit up and do this all day long, and it's not, in my opinion, it's not conspiracy theorists or anything like that. Like, it starts to delve into a whole thing. It goes back to, honestly, like I was just talking about, those rivalries. It becomes a whole different type of rivalry, though. It places a rivalry where it becomes a skin color against a skin color, or the ideation about against the idolation. And now we have a whole different situation where now it goes back into a position of, now we're talking about blacks versus whites versus Latins versus Pacific Asian Islanders versus all this. It comes into a whole different type of a ball game. And when it comes down to this, because now it's like we have factions that one is against another. No different from uh, when we had the insurrections and the uprisings, and we had all the things from the outcome of the Floyd situation. Same thing. Only thing now is on hardwood. It's on courts. It starts to spin out, and that's just my personal opinion. So it's like that. It becomes a whole different thing. Now you have factions, like one's going to defend the other. So yes, there's going to still be people going to the game because they feel a certain type of way about the situation. Honestly, it doesn't all have to be racially motivated, racially this, but for the most part, that's what the rhetoric becomes. You have people that are going to sit up and it's not just white, you have some African Americans and other races and stuff like that or have feel the same type of way. Everyone, you cannot tell anyone how to feel. Honestly, you cannot tell a person how to feel. But that's just what comes about, and that's what, in my opinion, that was hence the reason. Another reason why it's like I just said, it goes into a whole different sort of conversation in state. Started they can say the N word. Correct, I got you on that. He was just being nasty. That's 60% of the owners. They just do it undercover. Okay, I rock with you on that, Anthony. I completely understand. But what I'm saying is that they've been trying to get him out for a long time. Look at how long it took them to change the word, which was considered to be I mean the name of the team that was considered to be wasn't conducive to a certain race or a certain type of indigenous ethnicity, in which he didn't want to change it because money. Or was it money, or was it because he felt like y'all not gonna tell me what to do with my organization? He had to do it because he started losing out. I just talked about how PayPal is looking at pulling out of their what they're doing with the Suns if the Sovereign comes back in a year. They're 3 million. They're only making them $3 million, so maybe that might not be enough to move the needle. But if you have other organizations or other entities that start moving out, that 3 million times 10 equals 30 million. You know what I'm saying? If it's a little depending on where their businesses lie and where everything is at, people start pulling out and be like, yo, I'm not doing this. Now again, that starts to again cripple the machine. So it's a lot, it's different. It's just a whole different vibe. But it's gonna take a lot in order for it to happen. And it has to be one of those things in which people like all the people like if no one's watching if I'm doing this for the Phoenix Suns, like my man Jay Ness does, if I'm doing this for the Phoenix Suns and there's no one watching the Phoenix Suns game, in order for me to sit up um, I have to make a decision. Do I watch a Phoenix Sun game being played so I can be able to create content because this is also something which I do that creates revenue for me, or do I take a stance with everyone else because I'm looking at a great something bigger than me and not watch the game? And then we're talking about just the Phoenix Suns game, which in terms means you got to not watch opponent, the Golden State Warriors game, and all this type of stuff. So what I'm saying, that it's that part. I might not even be. I could be recording for the Lakers, or the, since I'm in Louisiana, or for the Pelicans. And now I don't watch when they play against the Phoenix Suns. I'm not watching the Pelicans play because they're playing the Suns, and I can't sit up and report for that day, or I can't do anything in reference to media for that day because I'm watching it. That affects, but it takes for people to be like, you know what, I'm going to take this on the chin, and I'm going to do that, and go from there. In which I don't think it's not the we're not built for that. Everyone's not built for that. Let me say I don't even foresee that happening, Anthony. Now, what can happen is that becomes a point in which is it all comes back again. Another thing, influencers. Rappers who go to go to sports events that do are influencers. Meek Mill, or if not even influencers in general. Meek Mill, Kevin Hart, 76ers fans. Um, of course, we know the Lakers have a plethora of people that come through to watch their games, sit courtside, and all that type of stuff. Those people are influencers, i.e., the hence the word influencers. Myself, I could be concluded an influencer depending on who it is in which I could reach. I could get to, and people want to be like, you know what, Trey got a point. Hey, we're not going, we're not watching. 1 second, hold on. But let that sizzle for a second. Give me Sorry about that, folks. I had to take care of something real quick. But yeah, so that's like I said, that's what it comes out. In my opinion, that's what it come out to be. And if that's how change happens, that's how change happens. People have to make some decisions that may not be conducive to whatever it is, uh, entertainment wise, money spent already, any of that type of stuff. In which even you for it or you against it in state, or it doesn't make any difference to you, which in some cases with not having a stance is being against it as well. Um, but of course, more to come on that, I'm sure. I think it was actually a good topic, good talk. Appreciate those chiming in reference to that. Um, let's move on to some NFL talk, a little NFL talk before I got to get off here to sip and go do some work. Uh, the other stuff that pays me. Um, like I said, some NFL conversation. So of course we already know yesterday concluded the week number 2 of the NFL. I'm very sure some of y'all was appreciative, or some of y'all was like or disappointed in your teams. In any case, plenty more football to be played. When it comes down to it, NFL still got 15 more weeks of action. We only in week 2. The tides can turn immensely uh, when we're talking about this. So it just depends. So one thing that came out yesterday, I got you, Ron. Let's talk some football, fam. You know what, Ron? You would have been an ideal person to sit up in for just the last what we talked about just a few minutes ago. It was even supposed to go there. It just happened to go there, brother. I saw it, but you would have been an ideal person to have on this with a reference to that rhetoric. So let's talk some football, right? Um, First and foremost, fans. Speaking of fans, you know what? Speaking of fans, let's go here first before I go into this other stuff. Speaking of fans, right? Y'all could be a trip. We have one fan that was arrested for throwing a bottle at Cleveland owner Haslam. We have another fan that is being sought for that is being sought for assaulting, smacking Kyler Murray after the game in which the Las Vegas Raiders came back to win the game against the Arizona Cardinals. In that case, the fan basically Kyler Murray was going through dapping up and high fiving members and fans in the stands, and the play and the fan open hand smacked Murray in the face. What's good, Frank? What's going on, Zach? Congratulations, Master Sergeant Styles. Congratulations, brothers, on your promotion to next case. First Sergeant, happy for you. Um, so yeah, so basically, uh, you have that in place. So again, fans has power. What is given can be taken away. Uh, yes, sir, no doubt. You know what it is. Roll 5. Uh, so so I don't know, Ron. So I wouldn't say they was popping champagne in the third quarter because uh, they were slowly but surely coming back. Well, yeah. Actually, it was the Raiders was popping champagne in the third quarter. You're right. So it goes down to this. So these fans, like my man, smacked Kyler Murray in the face and basically took off. But you got to think this. I hope he wasn't near the black hole doing it. I mean, that's you just don't do that. But these are Raiders fans. Like if you ain't know, now you know. Raider fans is about that life for real, for real. And you basically have to take it with a grain of salt. Like you can't be next to them or they gonna come find you in one way or another. So definitely, but yeah, they was like big mad for real, for real. So with that being said, so yeah, so now they know like yo, this what is going on? I can't get it off your comment, Ron. So yes, but in any case, yes, like Ron said, you now you um you know. basically at the end state. So, but yeah, so you have those things, and even what's getting worse is offensive lineman Bobby Hart from the Buffalo Bills gets suspended for one game. Gets suspended for one game for hitting a Tennessee coach after the game. He went to the side to the at halftime. He was at the end of the game. I have to go back. You know, what I'm saying my but in case he went and he met the coach and swung on the coach and hit the coach with a closed-handed fist. So he's, well, for whatever reason, I think they had words or a case like that. He went to go see him. He's been suspended for a game. We know Michael Evans has been suspended for a game. Uh, oh yeah, the disrespect, the open hand slap. Yeah, I used to do that in high school. I was like, that would be the start of stuff. Like when I was all, not saying I've done things in my life in which I'm not too proud of course, in which it took me to go into service to become a better person, which it taught me honor, respect, and discipline. But me as a kid coming up, man, that was my go-to tool, was to smack somebody. Pow! What did the hand say to the face? Come on with it. But yeah, so it's like stuff like that is crazy, man. But yeah, but it's like the tensions. I baby powder, baby powder. Uh, but yeah, so I used to have to sit up and deal with that type of stuff and do that type of stuff. Uh, just because, you know what I'm saying, it sets it just, I used to do that, you know what I'm saying. But I don't understand why is it happening now? Like, what's going on? Uh, this heat is making players act up. They back to people playing football. It's like it's football, pandemic. Is that's what it is going down. Um, but it's I don't know what's going on, fam. It's like you got disrespect all across all around. Um, when you look at it, there's a lot of slapping that goes on for players because they got the helmets on, smushing. Uh, you said the Wasp, Eric. Nah, see, no, it's just the setup. The smack is the setup. The smack is like, okay, if you're gonna do something, let's do it. That's what it is. Like, you smack somebody. Usually, if someone gets smacked, it's like it's go time. So that's like, what I'm saying, to test the temperature. If someone gets smacked, it's like, okay, what are we gonna do? So even if something's gonna happen or it's not gonna happen, that's why I foresee. Because usually, if someone gets smacked, you don't rush them at the time. You smack and you step back and you get ready because you're expecting retaliation in some form or fashion. Now, if it doesn't happen, doesn't necessarily mean there's no retaliation. That just means there's no retaliation at that point. He said Ron don't know about the heat. Ron, let him know, man. Don't let him disrespect you. Tell me get hot in Alaska. See, here we go, another rivalry. Alaska versus Maryland. Let them know, Ron. It gets hot in Alaska. Y'all have to deal with the elements as well. See, that brings up another point, Eric. Elements, 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 elements. Elements. See, that's what's up. Could anyone in the NFL teams go to Alaska and play a game, Ron, and it'd be a good game? Elements make a difference. I just continue to stand on that soapbox. But let me get back into it. So yeah, of course you had these instances where these players and stuff came out, and I'm just saying, Ron. I'm just saying, Eric. That's real talk. Like, these elements make a difference. It was just, they even talked about the other day how New England is going to probably have problems versus not New England. Who is it? Who has to play? Uh, Buffalo. They just talk about how Buffalo's going to probably have problems having to go into that heat to play against Miami or Jacksonville. Whatever. There you go with that, Eric. What you say, Zach? I hear Yeti coolers are popping all over up this sewer line. Oh, so yeah, but like back to you saying real talk. They said that Miami is expected to have an advantage because Buffalo is not used to playing in the heat, that possible heat, that type of heat in that's going to be in Miami or in Jacksonville or any other teams where they got to go down to Miami to Florida. So that made me think, right? Like I've been in some extreme heat. I've been deployed to Iraq multiple times. I've been deployed to Afghanistan multiple times. I remember being in Iraq, walking Kuwait. I've been to Kuwait, Bosnia, but of course Bosnia was different. We got to Bosnia, it was freezing when we got there. Um, I couldn't stand the Bosnia before, but in any case, like I remember walking around Kuwait at 2 o'clock in the morning or one or two, and the the temperature was over 120 degrees at 2 o'clock in the morning. Like, so I could imagine having to exert energy in which, of course, once you get there and acclimatize, it becomes different. Like I'm very sure Ron is climatized. We know 30 degrees is cold. 30 degrees to me is different to Ron. You ain't exact for real, for real. But like I was saying, 30 degrees to me is different to Ron. I'm sure, without a doubt, because of climatization. Just like 120 degrees to me being in Kuwait for 4 months, it'll be different to anyone else that has to come out there because it's like, yo, are you serious right now? Definitely I wouldn't know that, Eric. I have never even been on the deck of a flight deck to even feel the heat from a F-18. Well, I'm very sure one of my brothers or something like that that's out there listening that rep the Navy or in and or Air Force will be able to speak to that. But I of course, no, I have never felt that. Although that heat coming off the them Chinooks and stuff like that, because I worked at I worked at BIOP Baghdad International Airport, sending out insurgents and stuff like that once they was caught for transportation, and to go in and have when they land those air helicopters and to pick them up or pick up cargo and send out, and I had to sit up and be out there while they was loading the cargo and stuff like that. It's yeah, it's pretty hot, pretty darn hot. So I don't know, but I know I have not felt the heat off the F-18. So you might have me on there. But in any case, like I said, elements make a difference. That's all I'm saying. That's the point I'm making. But I digress. Going on, moving on. Yes, yes. Like I said, I know a little bit. I was a cook, but I served in a whole bunch of different facets with deploying. Ain't too much cooking going on. So I had to sit up and go do something else. I didn't work a plethora of other jobs. Um, while deployed. I didn't always work as a cook while deployed. Um, so the for um, nominees for the 2023 Hall of Fame have been released. Um, so of course we won't go over the whole list, at least not now. But what we will talk about is the first year balloters that could potentially get into the Hall of Fame come this when the voting starts. So of course 129 total have been selected. Um other 129 is some certain names that are out there in which y'all tell me, do you think these people become first year balloters? Or if any of them become first year balloters, if you have a possibility. So of course you have 6-time all pro offensive lineman Joe Thomas, who's up for ballot. Uh Darrell Revis, we discussed before. Darrell Revis is currently up. Um, Dwight Freeney, speedy pass rusher off the edge. Um, who else? Chris Johnson, 2,000 all-purpose yards. Chris Johnson, offensive lineman Jahari Evans, as well as linebacker from them San Francisco 49ers, Navarro Bowman, and of course Pittsburgh Steelers, James Harrison, as well as Legion of Boom representative, cornerback, defensive back, safety, Cam Chancellor, and Shane Letcher, punter. So, of course, like I said, 9 new candidates for first year balloters. Um, Between the 9, there's a total of 52 Pro Bowls, and 30 first team All Pro selections. And then, of course, 5 of the 9 won Super Bowls, and 5 of the 9 were on All Decade teams. So, of course, you already know Chris Johnson won Offensive Player of the Year for his record-setting all-purpose yards in 2009, and of course, James Harrison was picked as the top defensive player in 2008, winning Defensive Player of the Year. So, with that being said, of the 9 in which I stated, how many of those 9 do you think are potentially going to be first-year balloters? Stop it, Anthony. No. The Legion of Boom was not that nice like that. Like, no. Earl Thomas was nice. Cam Chancellor was nice. Richard Sherman was nice. You know what? You know what? Hold on. Let me see what Eric says before I go into this, before I set it off too far. No disrespect, but like Deion Sanders said, they letting anyone in now. So, I was about to ask this. First and foremost, is Darrelle Revis a shutdown corner? Was Darrelle Revis a shutdown corner? First and foremost. Ron. Okay, disregard that last question. I'll come back to that. Ron, and of course, Eric, Zach, Anthony, was Richard Sherman, and y'all gotta. This is my man's. This represent alumnus Dominguez High School, Compton, California. Was Richard Sherman? Is Richard Sherman? Was Richard Sherman a shutdown corner? We know the tandem of Cam Chancellor and Eric Thomas or Thomas was formidable. Uh, did their thing. And I don't even know who was the other corner that who was the other part of Legion of Doom. Oh, Legion of Boom. Well, I know it was a defense, a whole defensive effort, but who was the other corner in that defense? Okay, I'll get that. So Ron, good point. Good point, Ron. Good point. So so that goes back to, and I agree because they played a certain scheme. He didn't follow the top receiver all around, but he did have the ability. But okay, if he was a take half the field away corner, is that a factor, or can that be contributed as a situation where he could be considered a Hall of Fame type corner, or a shutdown corner? Is there a difference between shutdown and lockdown, or is it a play on words? Like, saying, help me out here, you guys, or anyone listening. Like, what it was, like you said, Ron said no, he was not. He was not a lockdown corner, but was he a shutdown corner? I.e., he took half the field away. And Anthony says he was in the Seahawks. It was, and honestly, actually, he was pretty good with San Francisco. He didn't take away. Well, nah, I digress. Zach said he gives him 2 years up there. Correct. Reeves didn't too, but I think Reeves was a shutdown corner though. When if someone was on his, I don't know. Maybe I need to reset my compass. So, like Ron said, Richard Sherman, shout out to the homie, took away half the field. Who was the other corner? Why do so? Richard Sherman took away half the field. True. He had two All Pro safeties that sat back behind him that were a free safety and a strong safety that lowered the boom and lit up in each and everything that came in their vicinity. Right? You had those two. All right. Eric says Sherman was locked down. He threw what the quarterbacks didn't go with away from him. So, if it's correct me if I'm wrong, fellas, that was the same thing which they said about Revis. Correct? No one threw on Revis Island, or if you on Revis Island, it's going to be a long day for you. So, let me see. I gotta look up Legion of Booms. Bear with me. So if you do a comment, it's not. I'm not ignoring you. I'm looking at something. I'm only on one screen. Uh, uh So the region of Boom was the defensive backfield of cornerbacks and safety, which was made up of Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor, Brandon Browner, who was actually trashed as a corner, in my opinion, Walter Thurman, and Byron Maxwell. Maxwell was cool. Uh, of course, when you take in consideration the rest of the defense, which then Bobby Wagner, KJ Wright, Michael Bennett, Cliff Averill, Michael Thomas, Brandon Maybank, Frank Clark, and Clinton Irvis. Okay, I'll give you that, Ron. I rock with you. Legion of Boo was a factor. Their defense was pretty potent. Yeah, Brandon Browner was getting he would get burnt. Uh, Revis hard hitting, intimidating. You can pass on him, but don't let him hit your ass. So again, going back to what I was saying are we saying, can we say that Revis is a first year balloter to the Hall of Fame? Just so we don't know. I mean, honestly, there's 120 other people nominees. I would have to go into. I can look up and see. But right now, just out of those nine potentially names, is there Darrell Revis a Hall of Famer, first ballot, or any of those first ballot? James Harrison, Chris Johnson. Okay, I got you, Eric. Well, like I say, Chris Harris. I mean James Johnson. Correction, James Harrison, Chris Johnson, Dwight Freeney, Navarro Bowman, uh, Joe Thomas. I think I can agree with you. I think Joe Thomas as well. I think Joe Thomas and James Harrison might be first year ballot, first year. Well, you know what? Actually, you know what? I got to think about that. I really got to think about that because you would think James Harrison, but look how long it took. I don't think Zach Thomas was a first year. James Harrison was moved around on defenses, on offense, I mean on teams. Um, Cam Chancellor, I don't think first year. Now if they Sean Taylor, I think you might have a point there. I think Dwight Freeney is. I think Dwight Freeney is, like you said. I think if anything, Joe Thomas and Dwight Freeney might be first year balloters. Not to say anything a reference to I don't think yeah. Joe Thomas and Freeney, I think, are the first year balloters out this group. Oh, yeah, that's the in state. I think definitely those two. Now going back to this region boom because I feel a certain type of way as I sit here thinking about it. Maybe, and Anthony brought up a good point, and of course you gentlemen let me know and see if you agree. If they were like, if the league did like what the NBA does the would the Legion of Boom defense be a first year ballot, or would they be deserving of a Hall of Fame? That defense. Would you say they were one of the most premier defenses in NFL history? If not one of the, do they are they in top three? I think there's a couple of defenses, of course, that come. Of course, we all know the famed steel curtain in in uh in Pittsburgh. I could bring up a couple more. The Super Bowl team from Baltimore when they won the Super, not the first Super, their first Super Bowl. Um, what else? The 49er defense when they won the Super Bowl with Deion Sanders. Uh, Eric, really? I don't think they would be number one, brother. They might be. I don't even know if they're top five. But the Purple People Eaters, we give that. Uh, what else? No, I'll give you Purple People Eaters. I'm not saying they. You're right. I think they would be top five. I think they'd be top five. True, no one wanted to play in them stadium, and I was there in the stadium a couple of times, Zach, and I disliked it. I'm not gonna say hate because hate is a strong word, but I truly did dislike it. Um, going and being going to that stadium. And the funny thing was, I worked there, so I would sit up and work the first part of the day or as much as the day as I can, and then I um, go take off my uniform, put on some 49er garb, and then I really Cornelius, you think so? The 85 defense, the Bears 85 Super Bowl defense. Now I'm gonna have to make a note of that this stuff and take a look at it with my pencil. I don't know, Ron. That's why I was just saying. I'm gonna have to go look and see. I'm getting my pen now to make a mental note of this so we can have a conversation. This might be something we need to talk about come Friday, along with all the other stuff we do on Fridays. Let me see. Let me see. They number two. Who number one, Ron? I have to do some research. Uh, so we got 85 Bears. Mm. Trying to see if there are any defenses in which I may be moving out. I got you, Snook. I see it. Uh, is there any Dallas defenses that should be on this? Oh, Steel Curtain. Steel Curtain. Uh, was the Cowboys defense potent back then? What was it? I had to look at it. I want to put that in my research to see. Because so far we got the 85. I've seen. Okay. I see what you're saying, Ron. But I don't know. Was that defense potent? I'm gonna have to take a look in the Super Bowl era who were the top defenses, and we're gonna rank them. We'll pull up a couple of teams and we're gonna rank them. Oh, yeah, it's other stuff coming out. The Washington defense, Denver, Dallas. Yeah, it's a couple of them that's out there. You say the Patriots. I'll have to look. I got a couple of days to pull some stuff up, but yeah. So it starts to be interesting and stuff like that. And but in all this, what's being said, right? In all this conversation, right? What I am not hearing is, which goes to maybe speaking why Revis should be in the Hall of Fame, is I'm not hearing any New York. I don't hear no conversation in reference to the New York defense or even that Patriots defense in which Revis played on to win his Super Bowl. And I heard Palomalu. I could digging when Deion said they did, didn't they? Didn't the Dallas Cowboys have a good defense? Snook, I mean Cornelius. All right, I'll give you that. Mm, I'll put them on the list, Ron. I'm sorry, I left them out. Might have to do a poll. Uh, okay, I rock with you, Eric. Teddy Bruschi. That no, I'm asking. So y'all gotta remember, yeah, they sit with Haley. So we talking about the recent Rams on defense. I suppose, or back or the St. Louis, the Los Angeles Rams or the St. Louis Rams. I'm not starting. I promise you, I'm not starting anything. I was just that's why I was asking Cornelius. Decent, like you said, Haley was decent. Dion. Who else they had? Like I won't have to go through it and do a whole deep dive. I want to find some defenses to put out there, and we'll do Friday. We'll rank them. Ron, stop it! Really? No. I'm assuming behind who? LT? No, Ron, stop it. Aaron Donald, second greatest defender ever? Nah. LT, Donald, and Lewis. uh, yo, LT, the second greatest. 1 second. I don't want these calls to. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Sorry about that. So yes, I see y'all going off. I see y'all respect all Ron, but now, sir, many great defensive plays. I agree, but I was sitting up there thinking about that. Eric is like, is he a premier or a top? Is Donald like anyone else has came before him? Anyone else and anyone after him? Would you say is it okay? LT or Reggie White? You see, Donald has three DOPs, two a Super Bowl appearance. And just looking at the obvious, what do y'all want? So I was about to say, do you think? Okay, no, I'm not. Basically, what I was about to ask, like, do you think T.J. Watt is pushing that narrative on Donald or on him? Do you potentially, if Micah Parsons was strictly a rusher, would he be a potential incumbent to what it is that Ron's talking about in reference to Aaron Donald? Anthony's asking for a top Ron's top five in defensive players. He already gave his top three in Lewis, Donald, and LT. Uh, Ron is of course rebuttaling, said he on him to carry another team. Uh, TJ, okay. Oh, TJ has a long way to go. But how long? TJ's only been around. How long? TJ's how many years is it? What, 4 years? TJ Watt's been. Let's see what the his how far he can grow. Uh, so TJ's this would have been his fifth season. So he started the NFL. He became an NFL 2017. This would have been his fifth season, or this is his fifth season. Uh, Compared to Aaron Donald, this is Aaron Donald's. Excuse me. Aaron Donald's been around 8 seasons. This is Aaron Donald's eighth season. So TJ's Watt's fifth to Aaron Donald's eighth. And Aaron Donald has, like Ron says, DOPs. TJ has one DOP. Correct. Good point, Snook. Uh, Defensive tackle versus to Ian. Um, y'all, it's foolish, man. Bless y'all, for real, for real. So let me see as I get this so I can make a point, a quick point. Let me see one point. Let me get this. Sorry for the slight delay. I know we're getting close to our time. Uh, so, like Ron said, 8 years, right? Eight-time Pro Bowler. Aaron Donald's an eight-time Pro Bowler in 8 years. Correction, this is his ninth year. He's an eight-time Pro Bowler, seven-time All-Pro, one-time Super Bowl champion. Uh, he was on the Hall of Fame's All 2010 team. He's a three-time Defensive Player of the Year. Um, that's where the accolades end. So in 9 years, he's attributed three DOPs. Let's see, your man's TJ. See how he's stacking up currently. TJ in 4 years Is a 4-time Pro Bowler, a All Pro, and a Defensive Player of the Year. Do we see a situation to where TJ can probably catch him? Oh, since we're talking about LT, it's like Michael is on. We'll stand it up. Oh, let me go back. Eric Smalls, the murderer, one and only, is Dion number 5. That's a good question you bring up, Ron. Is Dion? I hear a lot of conversation. Is those the people in the trenches? Is a corner of safety able to get into this conversation? Is a corner of safety in the top 5 of the defensive players all time? Is there a better player than Ray Lewis? Is Aaron Donald better than Ray Lewis? 3 players better. Ron says 3 players better than Reggie Lewis. Ray Lewis is Lawrence Taylor, Reggie White, Aaron Donald, then Ray Lewis, and Deion Sanders. That's his top 5. And they're saying he was better than Ray. LT was better than Ray all time, even if he was on crack. So of course, everything is always speculative. Everything is potentially always speculative for the most part. But let me see, just for giggles, Lawrence Taylor to bring it up. Lawrence Taylor played 12 years, 10-time Pro Bowler, 8-time All Pro. Aaron Donald is already look like he's knocking on that door. 2-time Super Bowl champion, 3-time AP Defensive Player of the Year. He was on one of the Hall of Fame teams. However, something in which Aaron Donald is not going to get, I don't know, Ron, you tell me, Eric Cornelius, is it possible for Aaron Donald or any player, TJ Watt, Aaron Donald, to ever get a MVP award? Although it's not official, Lawrence Taylor was the 1986 AP MVP, 2-time Super Bowl champion, 8-time Pro Bowler, 10-time, 8-time All Pro, 10-time Pro Bowler. So, and if that's the case, LeBron says nope, a clear emphatic nope. That might not be Aaron Donald might not eclipse. So that's where we're looking at now. But I mean, like I said, it's a difference. Like LT played 12 years, in which he amounted 10 Pro Bowls and 8 All Pros. At this point, Aaron Donald has 7 All Pros and 8 Pro Bowls, 2 and 1 short. He's already gathered 3 Defensive Player of the Years. So and he has a Super Bowl. So the only thing missing in that aspect is 1 Super Bowl, 2 Pro Bowls, a AP, a All Pro, another All Pro nod, uh, and MVP, which is all attainable except for maybe one. After that, and then of course a Hall of Famer. But we could basically state that Aaron Donald's probably going to get in. Whoa, that is very disrespectful there, Anthony. Anthony Price stay off the drugs. He on that LT stuff. Goodness, Ant. Bobby Wagner? Really? Nah, stop playing. Although, if we was to say Who else would, as I'm getting close, we got 8 minutes. Who else would y'all say that potentially could be? I'd like to see know what y'all saying. Who can be outside of Aaron Donald? Who else would y'all? Who else would y'all coin, or close to LT? Just overall, Troy Polamalu, um, someone who stopped early, Patrick Willis, uh, Michael Strahan, and those people out there. Ray Lewis, I got you. 1 second, Eric. Ray Lewis, outside being a Hall of Famer, he's a 12-time Pro Bowler, 7-time All Pro, which they're tied currently. 2-time Super Bowl champion. He was a Super Bowl 35 MVP. He was on All Pro team. 2-time AD Defensive Player of the Year. So in some cases, he's already got him beat. 12-time Pro Bowler, 7-time All Pro, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, Hall of Famer. He was on a Hall of Fame All Pro team. Uh, so Aaron, in the aspects of accolades, Aaron Donald is pushing past or better than um, Ray Lewis. Good. What's up, Coach Rod? Coach Rod comes with a good point, or making a strong statement. Basically, that Ray Lewis, Lawrence Taylor is a class all by himself, uh, in which he stands alone. 3 years, Ron? Really? 3 years? 3 years? So y'all believe that if Micah strictly only rushes the passer instead of being a linebacker, he's only a defensive end. That he's basically he's the conversation. He's the next person we're going to be discussing and talking about. Is that the conversation which we're having? But Michael Parsons currently has 18 sacks in the year and some change. What's his ceiling? What's the ceiling? What's Michael's part? Who's making the call right now? What's Michael Parsons' sack ceiling this year? True that, Ron. Ooh, can you imagine him coming down as a thumper? Oh my goodness. New reason to boom. What's Michael Parsons? What's Michael Parsons' ending sack? 1 second, as y'all discuss that. I'm sorry, I'm back. For whose stack was you looking for? I'm sorry. So what's the stats now for who? Cornelius says 20 on Parsons, 20 sacks. He's at 4 currently. Cornelius says 20 this year. So basically, Cornelius, you say he doesn't break the record. Oh, let me see. Mm, So he had 13 last year. He got 4 this year. He's currently at 17 sacks in his career. 17 sacks in his career. 4 currently. Uh, okay, Eric says 15. Uh, whew, that's 11 more sacks. You don't think he can get more than 11 more sacks, Eric? 22 or 23 average, 2 a game. I can see that possible, Anthony. 2 a game. 2. Will that give him the record? So definitely a lot of conversation, defensive conversation talks or whatever case like that. Of course, I look forward to continuing to see this conversation. Uh, even tomorrow, Friday, maybe Friday. I may save it. I got to do some research to come up. We'll talk about the defenses coming up. Um, on Friday, as well as recap and cover our who we got or what's going on. Of course, y'all know tomorrow we'll be recapping that Thursday night game, that's upcoming Thursday night game. Um, it's a whole vibe on here. I greatly appreciate y'all high speeds rocking with me this morning as we it's hump day. I hope y'all guys enjoy y'all day. Be sure, males, like we said, we talked about at the beginning of the show, prostate cancer awareness month, September. You got a couple of more, a week or so, a week and a half left in September. Hey, take the time to go get tested. Just to be safe, to get screened. Um, like I said, it might save your life. Of course, that's our time for today. I greatly appreciate y'all being on with us today, High Speeds. Appreciate you rocking with y'all. Feel free to reach out anytime if you have an idea, if you want to get on the show, conversate, bring up some things. If you have initiatives and stuff in which you want to push, I'm here for it. Look forward to speaking with y'all. Of course, we look to have some more guests to take care to be to be on and talk and there's some more to come for y'all, more content, uh, generate more interest. Of course, this is your boy Trey. We appreciate y'all rocking with us today with the E2G Sports Network presentation of First Formation Morning Sparks Talk. I see y'all tomorrow. Catch y'all high speeds. Peace.